Welcome to Crafty Music Tips. My name is Crafty, and in this video we're going to talk about how you should be counting in at the start of a song. If you're a drummer, if you're a singer, if you're any type of musical related performing person, well then you need to know how to count in. So if you're unsure, this video is going to be really helpful. Now, I've been thinking about doing a video with this subject matter for a while now, but it wasn't until the other day I was teaching my student Jess. We were going through the song Elderly Woman Behind the Counter in a Small Town. That's a mouthful of a song. It's by the great band Pearl Jam, and what struck me was listening to the song at the very beginning. Check it out. Could you tell? Let's have one more listen. Yeah, so if you guessed that it was at the wrong tempo and in the wrong time signature, well, you're correct. Now, just before you diehard Pearl Jam fans start commenting below and saying, how dare you say a bad word about Pearl Jam? Well, I love Pearl Jam. I'm a big fan, and Eddie Vedder, I've never, if I think about it, I've never thought even a remotely off thought towards him. What a absolute legend of a human being, let alone like his musician traits, right? So I'm on board. I love Pearl Jam. But sadly, the count in to the song isn't a correct musical count in. Now, I'll demonstrate how to count in this song later in the video, but first, let me show you some count in basics.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Now, before I get into demonstrating how to count in that actual song, let's figure out, like, what is the purpose of a count in?
How the hell should I know?
If you've never actually thought about it before or been shown, well, then basically it's designed to just let everybody that's in the musical performing situation, whether it's a 2-person duo or a 50-piece orchestra, what it's designed to do is to let everybody know the speed and also, in doing so, when to start. And when it's done well, it gets everybody really in sync from the get-go. And if you think about it, a good count-in can make a song, a bad count-in can break a song before it's even begun. And so if you can develop the skill of counting in with confidence, well, then that confidence will be transferred to the others that are receiving your instruction.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Now, just a quick side note, isn't it weird? We're talking about like just some numbers or some stick clicks at the start of a song, and we're doing a whole video on this, and you're watching it. Like, shouldn't everybody just know this? Well, for me, it took me a long time to really develop the confidence through getting the experience. And I don't know how many people really taught me. It was just doing lots of gigs and having lots of good, confident count-ins around me where I sort of took a lot of that good stuff on board. So don't feel weird, even though I know it is kind of a weird thing to talk about. But anyway, let's get into it. All right, so there's 3 main sections here to counting in. And so the first one is your preparation. What? Prepare? Don't you just say numbers, don't you? Yes, you do need to prepare. You need to know the time signature and the tempo. So a lot of times people just are intuitive with that stuff, but if you're not really conscious of it and you're unsure, well, then you need to know how many beats and how fast. Now, one method that helps me attain the info is just visualizing how the song goes. You just think of a memorable moment of the song, you know, maybe the chorus or something like that. And then what that'll do is that'll help you just sort of feel the pulse, feel the beat, and then be able to help you with counting in. But of course, if you barely know the song, having the BPM information will be really helpful. If you don't know what that is, it's beats per minute, and it'll basically tell you how fast or slow the beats are. And like I said, it's also really important to know how many beats per bar. For instance, not every song's in 4/4.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
All right, so our second section here of developing a really good confident count in for a song is the planning stage. Yes, you do need a plan. What? No way, like you actually plan, like to just count numbers? Yes, if you need to, planning is going to be a great way to be able to guarantee that you're going to count in really confidently and accurately. And so if it's funny to you that I'm actually talking about the planning stage of a count in, well, if you're practicing how a song goes from bar 1 to the very end of the song, the count-in still is a part of that song if you're performing and if you're counting in. So just practicing it is one part of the planning stage.
You were going really well there. to the point where you weren't? Was that your plan?
Now, the next planning tip is all based on communication. So this would probably be more of a benefit if you're filling in for an act of some kind where you're the one that has to do all of the count-ins and you're not really familiar with the musicians, with how they usually count in. So discussing beforehand, if you have the opportunity, like, how would you like the count-in for this song? You know, some count-ins can be really tricky and can trip up other members if they're used to count-ins one way as opposed to the way that you're used to. So just discussing beforehand and just coming in and saying, I'm going to count it in like this. Is that okay with you? Rather than just saying, well, I'm not really sure. How should I count it? Then there's like a bit of uncertainty and indecision. Whereas if you just come in, be really decisive and really confident in your communication, you know, if they say, no, we count it like this. Well, then if you're filling in, well, then do it their way. But having some sort of a confident idea to be able to bring to the table is a really good way to communicate.
Check it out.
Now, just on that, I've just had a quick memory of my mate Nick filling in for my ensemble at TAFE years ago. I was studying a music diploma course. And so he came in and he wasn't interested in practicing any songs from start to end because we didn't have very much time to prepare. This was like in a really quick sound check. And all he was asking to everybody is basically, how does the song start? How does it end? And so what we did is what's called a quick top and tail, which is you just practice the starts and the ends. I know that might seem a little bit tedious because you're like, oh man, I was just getting into that song, and you want to stop it like after the intro and go straight to the end. But if you don't have very much time, well then that's where a song can potentially fall apart at the start and the end. So I just remember Nick saying that and it really stuck with me. It's really helped me. So I hope that helps you.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so enough preparation, enough planning. The third step is executing the count itself. And so to add to what I said before about visualizing how the song goes before you start counting in, that's what you have to do. You have to visualize how the song goes before you start counting in. If you start counting before you've actually felt the pulse, whatever the tempo is, whatever the time signature is, then it's possibly going to work okay, but don't leave it to chance. Feel it first. And what you can do is you can start clicking, start moving, start tapping your foot, start clicking sticks, whatever it is, before you actually start saying the numbers out loud, which is the next step, which is you got to say the numbers out loud. And you got to do it really loud. Oh, actually, no, I've got sticks. I'm just going to click. I'm not going to say any numbers. No! No, that's right. As I said, you got to say the numbers and you got to do it loud for two reasons. It'd be loud on stage. There's loud noises. And so it's really easy for people on the other side of a big stage to be able to not hear you. And if you're thinking that it's fine to just click sticks instead of saying numbers out loud, well, I don't know how many times I've noticed that people don't hear the first one and then they're like, crap. What beat was I up to? So make sure if you are a drummer and you want to click the sticks, that's fine. But what I would do is I would say some numbers with it. And loudly.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so now you're actually ready to start the song with a count in. Now, I'll just give you an example. If it's the song, I don't know, Another One Bites the Dust by Queen, right? So notice that I haven't started saying numbers yet. What I'm doing is I'm just feeling like, I reckon it's about there. And then other band members can kind of, like around the stage, they can be like, oh yeah, I kind of get the feels of where the tempo is. And then if I'm going too fast and they're looking at me like, it's too fast, dude, well then I can just pull it back. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, so that brings me to another tip. It's really important to know when you start and when all of the other instruments start, because for instance, that didn't actually start on beat 1. It wasn't 1, 2, 3, 4, dun-dun-dun-dun. It was 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a 1. So yeah, knowing when you start, but also when the others start will help keep everybody in sync. Now, if the song has an anacrusis or a very fast tempo, well, then probably what you want to do is add an extra bar of counting. So, for instance, the song, All the Small Things, you could just go 1, 2, 3, ba ba da na 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 But if I'm a guitarist on stage and a drummer counts in like that, well, then potentially I'll be like, I'm still just mucking around with my amp or talking to the crowd or whatever. So I need just a little bit extra of a buffer time, if you will, so that I can just get myself ready. Now, sometimes people think that going a 1, 2, a 1, 2, 3, bump, bump is taking up too much crucial time on stage. So what you could do is 2, a 1, 2, 3, bump, bump. All right. And as promised from earlier in the video, this is how you can count in the Pearl Jam song.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
All right, so could you tell that that was actually a much better count-in than what was earlier in the video, because Eddie had the correct pulse. He also had the correct amount of numbers as well. Now, Eddie was saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, which he could have said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He could have said 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. He also could have gone 1, 2, 3, 4. So however it comes across, it doesn't really matter as long as you've got the right pulse and the right amount of counts. So here's a bad way of counting in. 1, 2, 3, 4. It was at a different speed, wasn't it? So yeah, make sure you count it in at the same speed. And as I mentioned that, I have a quick funny memory of a Beatles demo where John Lennon counts in sugar plum fairies, sugar plum fairies. And like, he's not saying any numbers there, but he's got the right pulse. Sugar plum fairies, sugar plum fairies. Da, 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 da. Like, it's not an even count, but it still works because he's got the right pulse and you can feel that there's a rhythm there. And the way that he would have counted it, the rest of the guys would have just been like, oh yeah, it's just John doing a John. So you could go 1, 18, 10, 9. Doesn't matter, as long as you have the conviction and the confidence. All right, last thing before I get out of here. If you're a jazz musician and you're wondering about jazz count-ins, well then Brenda has a fantastic video on jazz count-ins that I'll leave a link for below. And also, if you've noticed that there's some tricky songs where you're trying to find where the beat is at the start, well, I have a playlist with a bunch of those hard song intros explained. It's called Beat-Splained. And also this video goes all into how to start a song, but nothing to do with how to end a song. I'm glad you wondered about that, because I have a video called How to End a Song. Gives you a bunch of tips on ending a song. Now, if that's still not enough, I have one extra parting gift to offer you before we go here. It's called 5 Steps to Fast Improvement. Basically, if you've ever felt like what I definitely have in my past, where I've felt like that I was just going around in circles, not improving on whatever instrument or whatever part of the industry that I was trying to develop in, well, then I've got a free ebook download for you. Basically what it does, it just clears up all of the steps that you need to take in order to be able to achieve the more faster and efficient progress that you want to be experiencing when trying to achieve your goals. So if that's helpful, I'll leave a link below. Go check it out. It's a free download, like I said. So that's it for this Crafty Music Tips count-in video. Was that helpful for you? Let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know some experience that you've experienced, either counting in yourself or maybe some mishaps that have happened with some other people counting in unconfidently.
And 1, 2, 3, 4.
Wherever you are, I hope life's rocking. And if you have a musical decision to make the healthy one.